Hello everyone. I know I haven't had my face on camera for ages, so I'm a little bit out of whack, so forgive me if I'm like fumbling all over the place. But anyway, this video I want to talk about wild harvesting, show you some things that I have been getting my hot little hands on lately, and just share a few little tips and general knowledge about wild harvesting. So I wild harvest a lot, it's fair to say, for a couple of different reasons. One is I really find that when I harvest directly from nature, my animals are doing their level best to drive me crazy. When I'm harvesting directly from nature, I find that I have a stronger connection with whatever it is I'm taking, whether it's bark or herbs or leaves or whatever. And I often find that the energies that I get from that particular item is different if I harvest it from nature as opposed to perhaps what is written in a book, or if I buy it online, I find that the energies that I get from it, from taking it from its natural environment, is quite different. So I like interacting with the energies of the whatever it is that I'm taking. And just the fact that I'm, taking it from nature, I find incredibly soothing. I felt like absolute crap the other day when I did that last video when I was at the local reserve. I really did feel like crap, and 20 minutes walking around the reserve with all the wildlife and touching the trees and those sort of things just made me feel 100 times better. So I use it as therapy, getting out in nature and harvesting and stuff. When it comes to doing like harvesting tree barks and stuff, I like to put my hands on the tree and feel its vibrations and stuff. That's a big part of my practice. Natural witchery and green witchery and garden witchery are all really big factors in what I do. So another reason why I wild harvest is purely for financial reasons. I simply cannot afford to buy everything that I use in my practice. Things like rosemary and white sage are staples in my practice, and if I had to buy especially white sage, which can be very difficult to get here, then I would probably need a third job to be able to finance my practice, which is ridiculous. I grow loads of white sage in my garden, so I'm lucky that I live in an environment where it grows really easily, but not everyone can, and I get that. And that was part of the reason why I started a magical herb garden, so I could just go out literally into my backyard and take what I need. And if you are, especially if you're starting from scratch and you're trying to stock a herbal cabinet, it can be an incredibly expensive experience. When I first started my herbal practice, I was just absolutely shocked and quite dismayed at the cost of things. So yeah, it's purely a financial thing, and it's exactly the same as, if you're buying something online, someone has harvested whatever it is that you're buying. So as long as you follow a few guidelines, then you are absolutely fine. And what I recommend is that if you're wanting to get into wild harvesting, there are a few things that you take on board. One is that you know exactly what it is that you are harvesting. You don't want to be thinking, oh okay, look at this nice big patch of nettles, and you actually find out later, or it actually is hemlock, which is incredibly toxic. So you need to be able to identify what it is 150% that you are taking. I would recommend investing in a really good herb book that has lots of pictures of all the herbs, so you can clearly identify what it is that you're harvesting. This book, no good for herb identification, and the only reason why I am bringing this up is because I watched a video that someone did on here a couple of years ago, and they were showing off all their favourite witchy books and stuff, and they showed this book, which is a personal favourite of mine, and they were saying, oh, it's a good book to take out in nature to identify plants with and blah blah blah. It's not, and it was never intended as to be used for that. Yes, it doesn't actually have pictures in it, it has drawings in it, which are very whimsical. I don't think Scott intended this book to be used as a herbal guide to be taking out into the wilds and identifying plants with. So invest in a good herbal book for your area, or at least your country. And if you don't have the money to invest in a book, then hire them out from your library. Libraries are so underutilised nowadays. I know every herb and garden book that is in my library. Admittedly, it's a very small library, but I know of just about all the gardening books that are in there. So that's what I recommend that you do first and foremost. Get educated on what it is that you are wanting to take, so you know what it is that you are harvesting, so you're not going to run into any bad stuff. You know, you don't want to be fiddling around with toxic stuff, thinking that it's not toxic, if you get what I mean. So that is plant identification is the most important thing. The next thing to remember is don't take any more than what you need. It's incredibly greedy and bad manners to just go ripping a whole entire plant out from the roots and trotting off home with it. If you come across a patch of nettles, we'll just use that as an example, and there's hardly any of it there, then just don't take it. Leave it and let it mature. When you go ripping plants out by the root, you kill the plant and it can't reproduce anymore, which means there is nothing left for anybody else, and it's just utter greed. So always keep that in mind. You just don't go, you know, ripping out huge amounts and carrying it all home in a great big sack. And thirdly, leave an offering and be respectful. I will show you what I use as offerings. I make these, which are, I call them offering stars, and I have circles in here as well. I made these based on Flora's Spell Star recipe, but I changed it up a little bit, so they just look like that, and I've got a little pentacle. I have a little pentacle cookie press that I use. I don't know if you can see, but I used I use cassia powder instead of cinnamon because I prefer to use cassia powder in my practice. It's a little bit more, well, it's actually a lot more potent than cinnamon. Oh, that smells so good. And obviously use the apple sauce as well, which is a very good witchy fruit to use for loads of different things. But I add powdered herbs to mine, and I might do a video on it. I don't know. I have a whole heap, so I'm not looking to make any more at the moment. So, now the little stars as well. But yeah, I added powdered herbs, and I use them as offerings, and they make really good offerings. Or you can make yourself up a little herbal blend, and sprinkle that on the, you know, around the base of what it is that you've taken. You can use anything as offerings. When I was at the beach today, I actually wasn't necessarily planning to go to the beach when I left like the house this morning when I took my son to school. I was like, oh, I'm going to the beach. I just really need to go to the beach. And I got some sand and I got some shells, and I rummaged through my bag and I came up with a little stone that I had found from somewhere that I really liked, and I just cast it into the sea as an offering. And it can be just as simple as that. If you don't like literally have anything on you that you can use as an offering, just thank thank the plant. If it's tree bark, excuse me, if it's tree bark that you're taking, put your hands on the trunk of the tree and just, you know, thank it for its bounty. Don't just leave without doing anything, because it's just rude. And I don't know, I always think that if you just go taking stuff without giving thanks, then you won't get as much out of the plant or what it is that you've taken. I just think it's rude. So with that being said, I'm going to show you what I have obtained. I'll take you out and show you the sand. I mean, everyone knows what sand looks like, but it's imbuing with some crystal, so I thought I might show you that. So the first is oak bark, and because I have horses, I'm incredibly lucky in the fact that I have 20 acres at my disposal to ramble around on and take stuff, harvest stuff from. Trees being no exception. I don't buy any bark. I just always harvest my bark directly from the tree. So, I mean, we all know what oak bark looks like, well, most of us do. When you take bark from a tree, take loose bark, and you often find that the trees will shed some bark. Take that, don't get a pickaxe and, you know, chip it away and you'll damage the tree. And take it from mature trees, don't take it from saplings or anything. And what I do is I generally know when I'm going to be taking bark. So I always have little brown bags with me in the car. And I take what I need, and then I put them in the bag with the name on, and I leave them in my conservatory. my cat. I leave them in my conservatory to dry for a good 2 to 3 weeks because the bark will be damp. Even in summer, it'll have some moisture that you don't want when you're grinding it up and stuff, because it can go off and go mouldy and go musty and stuff. So make sure that you dry it out, or if you don't have a conservatory, put it in bags and pop it in your hot water cupboard, or just in a warmish dark cupboard for a while, and it will dry out beautifully. Then what I like to do is I chip this off into little bits, and you can see it's very dry. It chips really easily. So I chip it into break it into small bits, and then let me see if that, get this. This is oak bark. Then I pop it in my coffee grinder and I powder it. I like my herbs to be quite well powdered. I don't like big chunks, especially barks. Because when you're using these for incense, if they're in big chunks, they just burn and you want them to smoulder. So you can see I'm getting quite low on oak bark. So I like to powder. My coffee grinders are a wonderful invention for us witches. And I use oak bark around my God candle. I sprinkle it around my God candle on my altar, and I use it for masculine work. It's good to use for like meditation if you are wanting wisdom on a problem that you may have or a situation that you may have, because oak trees they're very wise and they have very wise energies, and I always find them to be very protective, and just that warm, fatherly, protective type energy I get from oak. Everyone's different, but that's what I get from it. So I use it for masculine type work. The next one is elderbark. I don't have a huge amount of elderbark, but I am growing my own elder tree this year. I've taken a cutting from an elder tree at my horse paddock. So I will be able to harvest my own berries and elder flowers, and it's just going to be wonderful, and it's growing really well. So elder bark is quite a pale bark, and it's fantastic in healing magic. It really is, and it has a slight perfume. It's a beautiful bark to work with. Elderberries are used in so many herbal preparations. Elderberry syrup is really, really good for throat problems and stuff. So elderbark, good for any type of healing, magic. I'm just trying to think what else you can use it for. You could probably use it for, in bringing in feelings of contentment and things like that, because it's a very gentle, I find, it's got a very gentle energy about it. So yeah, I like elderbark. I can't wait for my tree to grow. Awesome. And the last bark that I have is willowbark, and willowbark is my favourite. Elderbark is elder tree is feminine, and so is willow. Willow is my ultimate favourite, and I have a fair bit of willow bark in here. It's just about all dried. We have lots of willow trees at my paddock. It's awesome. I find willow to be very soothing, very motherly type of energies. I use it to dress my my goddess candle on my altar. I use it for shush. I don't use it for shush. I use it for goddess work, for feminine energy. My cat's named after the willow tree. My email address has willow in it. I love willow. And it's a very soothing, motherly, comforting type of energy. Can be used for healing, for protection, for love. Yeah, just that's what I get from it. Everyone, like I said, is different, but I love using willow. I use it in herbal blends. It's often, like the feminine energy. Like if I want to bring a feminine energy into something, then I generally always use willow bark for it. I just love it. But yeah, I definitely find it a very motherly, loving energy, and I use it a lot for full moon. Shush. For full moon workings and stuff, where the goddess is in her mother phase. Oh, getting all mucked up. The next is yarrow. Now I grew yarrow last year in my garden, and it gets huge, and it gets huge in my garden because I'm always feeding my garden with compost and stuff, and so it got massive. And then I said to my husband, it's probably a little bit silly me growing it because you can get yarrow anywhere. I have it growing up in my horse paddocks and on the side of the road. This is stuff that I just harvested just on the side of the road from my horse paddock the other day. And this is pretty much ready, yeah, to go into a jar. It's a whole lot of yarrow, and I harvest the flowers and the foliage as well. And it's a good protective herb as well. It's a classic witch's herb, yarrow. And protection, feminine energy, that kind of thing, that's what I use it for. Anyway, so that's yarrow. And, this is some stuff that I got today. I got some pine needles. I got more pine needles, but these ones are different. They're off a different pine tree, and they've got quite a strong pine scent. Come on, outside, quick, out you go. So I only got a few because the trees were quite small, but I'll show you the other one that I got because I actually got quite a lot of the other one. Pine is a good cleanser, amongst other things. It's good for healing, it's good for protection, for fertility, exorcism, but it's also a really good cleanser as well. So you can dry this out and then use it in house cleansing blends, incense, things like that. Cleanse your altar with. You could probably make an infusion with it and use it to cleanse tools, that sort of stuff. It's good for return to sender type spells and to send negativity back. If someone sent you some bad mojo, then it's good for. That one doesn't have much of a smell at all. Yeah, so for all those kinds of things. And I use it in cleansing work. That's what I use pine for, mainly. These aren't actually herbs. These are just little mini pine cone type things. And I actually have something in mind that I have something that I'm doing that I needed these for. I spied them the other day when I was at the reserve, and I went back and got a whole heap more today. I will show you what I am making once I've finished it. It's a protective wreath cum dream catcher that I'm doing for my son. And I want to put these on it, which leads me to the next thing that I got, which is a whole heap of willow switches, willow canes, whatever you want to call them. And I'm making a wreath out of these. I like to make my own wreaths as opposed to buying them, and they're really hard to get here, strangely enough, anyway. So it's a really good time to harvest willow cane switches now, because obviously they don't have any leaves because it's winter, and they've got quite a lot of moisture in them, so they're very flexible and you can do all sorts of stuff with them, and they're easy to manipulate into wreaths. And I'm going to use this for a protective wreath that I am making for my lounge. I won't be able to get that back in the bag now, will I? So I was really rapt to get that today because I wasn't actually planning to harvest from the reserve today, but I got some good stuff. And I'm going to take you outside and show you my sand that I got that is imbuing out there, and just explain some stuff about sand. So bear with me while I take you outside and I get my fat ass up off the floor. So you have to excuse the state of the place. I've got stuff drying everywhere, clothes and crap. Anyway, so these are my shells that I got today. These little ones are really good for crushing up. They see they're quite thin, so I like to crush them and add them to blends. anything that you want some water energy in. They're really good. And this is actually a little crab shell that I found. And when I get stuff like this, anything that is safe to have water on, obviously shells are, I rinse all the sand off and dry them, and then I use this, which is a cleanser spray that I make, and this has in it rainwater that was charged on the supermoon, so it's super rainwater. It has tincture of rosemary in it, because if you put herbs into water and you don't use them within a couple of days, they will go off and it'll go all mouldy and stagnant and gross, because obviously herbs are biodegradable and they will break down in water. So it has tincture of rosemary, which I use as a general health supplement that I make myself. It has 3 drops of cinnamon oil for a little added boost of protection. It has 3 drops of eucalyptus oil for cleansing, and it has some salt, because salt's added to everything in my practice, and it has a clear quartz for potency and a citrine to keep it energetically cleansed, and a black pussycat. So yeah, I dry it all and then I just spray, and I like to give it a cleanse with my spray. So I'll take you outside and I'll show you. God, probably should have cleaned up a little bit before I did this. Oh well. Look at my lemon tree though. Like, it's covered in lemons. Absolutely covered. I'm really pleased, because it got really badly knocked around last year with the snow and then the frost. But look at them all. Yay, lemons! Love lemons. Love lemons! Okay, so this is my sand, and the reason why it is out here on this tarpaulin is because, as you can see, it is quite damp. And it'll probably take a good week for it to dry fully. So I will take it into the garage once I've done this video and leave it there overnight, and then bring it out tomorrow and the next day and the next day until it's dried completely. We're supposed to have nice weather all of this week. I like to use sand for the base in magical powders, and I'm making a powder for the perimeter of my house, a protection powder that I specifically wanted this for. The crystals that are imbuing it are obsidian arrow heads that I got really cheap at the crystal shop last week, and I brought them thinking, oh, I'll use them for something, and they just seemed perfect for this. So obsidian is actually volcanic glass, if you didn't know, but I love using obsidian for protection. It's a really strong protective, we'll just say stone, even though it's not really. It's got really good strong protective energy. So. And that is an amethyst, obviously, which is providing some extra added protection as well. So that's my video on wild harvesting. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Catch you later. Bye.